Hi, my name is James Doyle. I want to show you my micro library called Salt.js. So what Salt does is it takes native DOM queries and maps them to jQuery style CSS string queries. So something like hashtag ID div would get matched to get element by ID. Period class name would get matched to get elements by class name. Same with @ gets matched to get elements by name. Get elements by tag name, and then stars match to query selector all for those kind of crazy queries you want to do in one. So what it happens is it just returns the raw DOM element, so you can do things like dot get attribute, which is the native way to get an attribute, or set has attribute, class list dot add, stuff like that. It's for using plain JavaScript, not wrapping it in a like abstraction like jQuery kind of does. So I'll show you some of the code here in Sublime. This is the code. It's really small. It's about 240 bytes if you include my little comment here. If not, it's under that. It's about like 292 or 192. You could probably make it even smaller if you just took this and passed it in as into the document object, but I didn't notice a difference in speed, so I don't think it makes a big difference. If you want to map like things like find for each, just map them to the native equivalent. So for node list, a node list is an array. But if you map the node list.prototype for each, you can map it to the array for each prototype. So you can do things like, for each element. Something like find, you can just map it to query selector all, which exists anyway. Just if you want it to be shorter, just map it to find. It's pretty much the same thing. I haven't really tested the speed on that, but it's the native. It's not like me going through a loop or checking to see the length or anything like that. It's the native equivalent. Something just for fun, you could map all the get, set, and has attributes to just get, set, has, so you don't have to do any long queries. So I'll refresh this here. You can see that those console logs dump out a bunch of information here. Because I've mapped those queries, I can do things like div.find, and then we have those red boxes inside are the class of inside. So you can see that I have grabbed these inside divs, and because I have for each mapped, I can do a for each on these guys as well. There's an element in here, element.style.background equals yellow. So there, I just made everything yellow. One line, pretty much, where this in raw JavaScript would look something like this here, which would be a mess. So you have to get all the elements. This could be even swapped with get element by class list, or class name, sorry, and loop through and then do something native with it, where if you map them all properly, you can do something like this, which is a lot nicer. There are some performance tests. This is much faster. The reason I built this was because I noticed that query selector all is very slow when compared to the native gets. So this is kind of a happy medium between the native get and the query selector all. You can do something like hashtag ID div, and it doesn't use query selector all. It uses get element by ID. So if you look at the performance, you'll see that even with the old library here, you can see that the original regex version is, here we go, over 500,000 operations per second, where the query selector all is 36. So that's pretty terrible. You can see it changes quite a bit. Chrome versions, I don't know why, but you can see here the only one that's faster is Opera, which is weird. But I mean, look at Safari. I think I tested iPad here, so you can see. I think I have mobile Chrome. Oh, sorry. No, maybe I don't have mobile iOS. But even here, the get element, the regex one is 20,000, and the query selector all, I can't even highlight it, so tiny. So it is faster than the query selector all, quite a bit. It's not faster than the native get, so it's up to your discretion whether you want to have to write out all those native get commands, but it could be quite a huge difference. I guess it depends on how much code you want to write. Besides something like this would be great for a little library or just something you wanted to kind of play around with. I haven't actually tried using a jQuery plugin replaced with this Salt.js library because it doesn't do things like return Salt.js objects. It returns native objects. So you can't do return and then pull an adder on something because the adder doesn't exist. You'd have to create it. So just keep that in mind if you're trying to replace jQuery. This is not a jQuery replacement at the moment. Maybe eventually I'll write some little libraries that attach onto this, but for now it's just for grabbing stuff and manipulating it. So check it out, Salt.js on GitHub.